What do you do when your family and or friends do not approve of your spouse? As it turns out, there are a number of strategies to help with this, but the most important is just doing a good job of taking care of your marriage, regardless of what others think.
The Marriage Podcast for Smart People is designed to help busy couples like yourselves move away from conflict and unhappiness to build a marriage you'll love today and treasure for a lifetime. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Learn how you can help save marriages, prevent divorces, and keep families intact by going to oyf.support. Once again, that website is oyf.support. And now, here are your hosts, Caleb and Valinda Simone Gandel from Only You Forever.
Welcome to the Marriage Podcast for Smart People. If you want to build a thriving, passionate marriage, we've got the research, the truth, and the answers you're looking for. We have a strategic episode for those of you with disapproving parents and friends this week. This is episode number 159, and today we're going to be talking about what to do if your parents or your social network do not like your spouse.
Hey there, everybody. Before we get started, if you missed last week's episode, we discussed long-distance marriage. It's worth going back and checking that out. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming shows from us.
If you're struggling with your marriage, we offer sound, research-based advice, and most of all, we offer hope. Caleb, let's get into the topic of social or family disapproval and marriage.
So, popular culture often talks about a Romeo and Juliet effect, where family disapproval intensifies the love.
Yeah.
And that's based on Driscoll et al. 1972. They found that feelings of love increase as levels of perceived interference from parents increases. That was the observation of those researchers, early 70s.
Yeah.
But almost every subsequent study into this has found the opposite effect, that interference or disapproval from family and friends has negative effects on relationships, including lowering relationship satisfaction, reduced relationship stability, reduced commitment, lower feelings of love, higher levels of criticism, and less positive appraisals of your spouse. That's a study from 2015 and another one from 1992 referring to that. I was a little bit surprised by this research, to be honest. It's been my anecdotal observation, and this is more what I thought about. This is more on dating relationships.
Yeah.
That when the parents disapprove, it tends to bind the couple together more strongly.
Yeah.
They not only have their newfound love, but they also have a common enemy.
Right. Yeah, I would have agreed with you.
So I'm kind of still back in the 70s, maybe. I don't know.
But maybe the difference is these studies now are looking at marriages versus dating.
Could be.
Like, I think when you're dating and you're at that kind of rebellious teenage stage, you kind of do everything you can to antagonize your parents. Well, you probably did.
We'll unpack that in another episode. But, you know, these studies, Verna, they were looking at long-term relationships. And when I think about that context, I lean more towards the reality that if you have a lot of negative info about your spouse coming from friends and family, that can shape your perception of your marriage. Like that.
Right.
That's corrosive, right? That's going to affect stuff. But if there's an upside to all of this, it's that the approval from your social network has positive effects, such as improved perceptions of your spouse, greater feelings of love, and greater stability for the relationship. And what's interesting is that overall, the positive effects of approval from the social circle are stronger and more consistently found than the negative effects of disapproval.
Wow.
Again, that's that study from 2015 that was looking at that, which I think is great.
Yeah.
But there's a warning here for all of us to be careful about how we approach other struggling marriages. I think this research shows that when couples are struggling, they really need our support, not our criticism. It's easy to stand outside the marriage, especially if you just kind of have access to one spouse or one's your favorite, which is usually the case.
You're closer to one than the other. Yeah.
And you can point out all the problems to the person you're close to, but are you really helping the couple, like the marriage?
Mm-hmm.
So don't just be a friend of that person, but be a friend of the marriage.
That's good.
Now, why is this all happening? Why does approval matter, right? So approval from your social circle helps create a stronger identity for the couple. When other people see you as a couple and they approve of this role, it helps you to form a joint sense of self and identity. We've talked about sort of couple identity in the past, right? It's that sense of who we are, what we're about.
Yeah.
Right? And approval helps to reinforce that. Approval from others also reduces uncertainty about the relationship, while disapproval increases uncertainty. And when your uncertainty gets higher, that alters your perceptions of the relationship and your behavior accordingly. Like you adjust to that.
Okay.
So
if you're getting disapproval from others about your spouse, it affects how you think of your spouse.
Yeah.
Makes you uncertain in your relationship.
Uncertain about the relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're going to act towards your spouse.
You'll act out of the uncertainty.
That.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy imposed on you by the social circle.
Okay.
Now, sometimes when somebody's got a bad egg, if I can just use that pejorative term, this may be a helpful thing, I guess.
To make them see reality.
Yeah. Could be. Just be careful. But more often than not, couples have falling out. You listen to them, you only get one side of the story. And you're, as part of the social network, you're just reinforcing what's going to destabilize this and end up making it all come true. And that it may not be helpful. Like the two perfectly valid people, neither of them perfect, but perfectly valid.
Right.
If you know what I mean?
Yeah. That
could make this work, but your disapproval is going to enhance the likelihood of derailment.
Okay.
So I think there's a cautionary note in all of this for those of us who aren't in this situation or who are on the outside of it, right?
But helping couples or even just friends with couples.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the question comes up, which is more influential, the parents or the social circle? So a study from 2012 found that for most couples, disapproval from the social circle was more detrimental to the relationship in that it significantly influenced how much participants reported liking their spouse.
Okay.
However, parental disapproval was a strong predictor of relationship quality when the study participants were more reliant on their parents' resources. For example, their financial provision or their opinions. So for younger couples who are still in some ways reliant on their parents, or couples who have very close relationships with their parents, then the approval or disapproval from parents is more influential. But otherwise, it's more about the social circle.
Wow. Okay.
Now, a lot of this ties back to issues of perception, because the research shows that perception of approval is more important than actual levels of approval in determining relationship well-being and stability. This is a study from 2008. And what this means is that disapproving friends and family aren't directly responsible for impacting your marriage. It's the doubts and negative opinions they create in your own mind that do the damage.
So it's your own thoughts that are harmful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, which is reinforcing what we're saying earlier, that be supportive if your sibling or child is struggling in their marriage. Like, I know when we see someone we love struggling, it's easy to get the mama bear or the papa bear on.
Yeah.
But try to be a voice of support and care so that you're fostering the right kinds of thoughts in your loved one about their marriage.
Okay.
Now, if you find yourself in this situation today where your folks or your friends don't like your marriage, we have a bonus worksheet for you. If you want to help learning how to most effectively cope with the disapproval that's coming your way, you'll definitely want to grab this worksheet, and you can get it by becoming a patron of the Marriage Podcast for Smart People. We'll just take a quick 60-second break to tell you more about that.
What happens when the fairy tale marriage meets reality? Too often, high expectations lead to disappointment, communication breaks down, and the struggles of day-to-day life become overwhelming, leaving you feeling lost and without hope. Unfortunately, marriage does not come with an instruction manual. Marriage troubles are deeply personal and can take a toll on you, your spouse, and your family. Counseling can be expensive and divorce is very costly. It doesn't have to be this way. Caleb and Valinda understand your pain and frustration. Their mission is to help save as many marriages as possible, and to date, thousands of couples are helped through their weekly podcast. But the most important marriage they want to help save is yours. With a minimum of a $10 investment a month, you gain access to exclusive bonus content and valuable information to help you succeed in your own marriage. Learn more about saving marriages and how you can help at oyf.support. That's oyf.support.
You're listening to the Marriage Podcast for Smart People. Before the break, we were talking about the impact of approval or disapproval and why this matters. Now, what to do when friends and family disapprove, like how to respond to this. So here we want to give folks some strategies. For Linda.
Okay.
Ready for this? Mm-hmm. Number one, reduce the impact through commitment. Commitment to each other becomes really important in this situation.
Okay.
Again, study from 2008 found that commitment to your spouse mediates the link between social disapproval and reduced relationship stability.
Okay.
So that's saying that you might have social disapproval, but for that to come out as relationship instability will depend on your guys' commitment to each other.
Okay.
So remaining very committed to your spouse and building on your intimacy and your bond with each other, that can reduce the impact of disapproving friends or family.
Okay.
And we'll kind of see this trend as we go through here, is that there's things couples can do to make their marriage thrive, even if they have this opposition coming, right?
Okay.
Next thing is to watch what you say. So increased disclosure, like how much you're sharing, that influences others' opinions, right? So obviously disclosures about your spouse to your parents or your social circle can affect their opinions of the spouse. And remember, it's going to affect your perception as well.
Right.
Yep.
And that's what impacts your marriage.
Right. So a study found that increased overall level of disclosure and increased positive disclosure have a positive impact on parents' perceptions of your relationship. That was their perceived and actual opinions. While increases in positive and negative disclosures has a positive impact for friends. So they're kind of noting that sharing the good and bad aspects of your relationship with your friends is good, but with parents, you might need to be a bit more selective.
Okay. And you know what? That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think.
Parents are more defensive of their kids.
Of their own kid. Yeah. Whereas a friend is more friendly with both.
Yeah, could handle the good and bad or something like that, you think? Now, this next one's a little bit tricky. It's be aware of how you are coming across as a couple. So a couple's social circle will pick up on cues between the couple that give an indication as to how they're functioning as a couple. So, for example, they'll spot like red flags that indicate conflict, or they're picking up on nonverbal cues, like did you see how they were sitting when they're beside each other? Those cues that maybe indicate tension, right? And these then affect the observer's opinion of the relationship.
Okay.
Understandably. And I'm a little bit torn on this suggestion, to be honest. Like, I see where the researcher is going, and we want to help couples reduce disapproval.
Yes.
At the same time, I'm always asking folks to be authentic and show up in whatever situation and just be real. Be who you are where it is, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, Verlinda, do you think there's a case like when your marriage needs work and you know it, then that's a situation where you guys as a couple, you need all the support from your family and social network that you can get. So don't give them reason to become negative voices unnecessarily.
Right.
Don't feed the bad guys.
Okay.
Just be aware of how you come across. Perhaps maybe there's even things that you do that promote disapproval in others at a time when approval would be more helpful for you guys. What do you think?
Okay.
Am I saying run the sham, live the masquerade?
I guess I've seen this.
Okay.
Where somebody totally hides the complete dysfunction of what's going on.
Right.
And portrays this happy, loving, affectionate couple.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. I don't know how that helped. I don't
think, I'm just thinking this through. I don't think I want couples to fake it either. Like that's going to help them.
Yeah. Like I think you do need to be careful. Like obviously if you go to your friends or your parents and you're like complaining all the time about your husband, like that's not a positive thing. That's not helping you. That's not helping them. It's not helping your marriage.
Right. But I mean, if you can have a couple that are acting catty with each other, and
I think to be able to do that in a safe environment and still have your friends support you and your marriage. Yeah. I think that would be that's
a good thing, but I think that's a rare thing. So I guess what I'm saying, Verlinda, is what if we're doing that to try to form alliances with other people against our spouse? Oh. That's not going to help your marriage.
No, that's not.
That's a different kind of bad behavior.
Yeah.
So let's just maybe we'll leave this one like you guys who know your friends and you know how you guys are doing, you decide who can handle what. Right. Is that fair?
Like you can handle how much of your dysfunction or whatever they can see.
Yeah. Don't put yourselves at a disadvantage through misbehavior in public.
What does misbehavior look like? What do you mean by that?
Just being unkind, rude.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Brutal to each other in an effort to garner support or things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I say be aware of how you're seen, I think maybe that's a fair way to go.
Okay. Well, now my conscience is totally pricked.
Why?
Because I've been like in conflict this whole episode because at the beginning I kind of made some snide remark to you.
You did?
I don't even remember what it was now, but I feel really bad, so I'm sorry.
It's okay. Like in the recording?
Yeah. Like right at the beginning, I said something about, I don't know, somehow you acted towards me when we were dating, or I don't even remember now.
I don't remember either.
All right. But I'm sorry, and let's move on. Yeah.
Let it go.
All right.
All right. Next one is siding with each other. So Wu et al. In 2010, they found that conflict between wives and mothers-in-law was a leading cause of decreased marital satisfaction. Shocking that. But for the husband, taking the wife's side in the conflict and using problem-solving strategies to reduce conflict mediated this link and buffered against problems caused by conflict.
Okay, now who's having all the conflict here?
That's a lot of the use of the word conflict. I think it's saying husbands go with your wife.
Yeah. And why do you use the problem-solving strategies? The conflict with your mother?
Yeah, problem-solving strategies to kind of get mom calmed down.
Okay.
But side with your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I tell guys this, that mothers don't divorce their sons, but wives divorce their husbands. So go with your wife and clean up with your mother later.
Huh.
Is that bad advice? I think it's pretty good advice.
Well, I think it's good advice in one way, but then...
As long as there's no mother enmeshment going on.
Yeah, but then you're going to get the whole... Like, if any mother's listening to this, it's like, oh, well, obviously, it's my daughter-in-law's fault, and my son, wouldn't do that, but he'll just side with his wife. He has to side with his wife.
I see.
And then you get more conflict towards the daughter-in-law.
I see. Well, yeah. So what do you propose?
Oh, I hate it when you ask me that. I'd say husband side with your wife.
Well, maybe let me just put it this way, like, be genuine about when you're cleaning up with mom later, so to speak. Be genuine about that you're clear with her that I have this union with my wife and that's my first priority.
Right.
And while I love you, this is what I have to do. This is my family unit.
No. Caleb, that is so wrong, because that's saying like, well, I love you, but I have to do this.
No. I don't mean that. I'm trying to say it like, I'm just trying to get back to Genesis, where it's like, so shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. Like you have,
I agree with that.
Family unit that needs your top priority.
Yes. Okay.
So
I'm on board here.
What did I say wrong?
Because you said, this is what I have to do. Like, I love you, but this is what I have to do.
Yes. No. Yeah.
Okay. As long as we're on board with that.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, I think so.
That's kind of a messy point, that one.
It is. The last two have been.
We should probably do another episode on mother-in-laws. Mine's pretty good, though. I just thought of it. That's a random thought. Okay, let's keep moving. Next strategy is to develop autonomy. So being dependent on your parents or social circle for resources, as in anything from financial and practical support to emotional guidance, that dependency exacerbates the effect of relationship disapproval. But when you work on becoming more independent and less reliant on your parents and friends, it makes their opinions less of a determining factor in your relationship. This was shown in research
that makes
too,
sense.
right?
Yeah.
So your desire and motivation to be independent and not be influenced also plays a part in this. And here's a quote from the researchers. The desire to be free of the influence of one's social network does in fact predict resistance to the disapproving opinions of friends and family.
Right. So you still have these friends, you still have your family, but you're an autonomous unit.
Yeah. I mean, this is just kind of pointing to some of those good biblical principles about setting up your own household and being a man and having a family unit and doing the right thing, right?
Yeah.
Find other sources of support. So having at least one other person in your network who does approve of and support your relationship mediates the negative effect of disapproval. So that's something you can do.
Talk to the person who supports.
Yeah, have one supporter. Have somebody on your side, a buddy, a friend, girlfriend, whatever.
So if there's nobody that you can find that supports your spouse, should that be a little bit of an indication that maybe there's a problem there?
Could be. Yeah.
Or is that just...
let me make a disclaimer here to abusive wives. No, to wives married to abusers.
Right. Or husbands, I guess.
Kind of work in this system and the support. That's not what you need to do. Mm-hmm. You need a different approach because you're not dealing with normal marriage circumstances. You're dealing with very difficult circumstances. Check out our episodes on domestic violence and abuse and start there. So that's this is more like when all other things are considered equal, we just have some disapproval going on for some reason, okay?
Okay. Because you know what? You're always going to find somebody who doesn't like your spouse.
Oh, I don't know.
Except for you. Nice try.
All right. Next one is to control your reaction. So how you react to the disapproval matters. There's two kinds of reactance that researchers have noticed. One is defiant reactance, which is acting contrary to how your social circle would like and showing increased love and affection for your spouse in spite of what they think. So
being all mushy-gushy about them just because you know that they don't like them.
You don't like we're holding hands? We're going to hug all night. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's defiant reactance.
Okay.
Now there's independent reactance, acting independent of how your social circle wants you to. So it's just saying, okay, I see your disapproval, but I'm just going to do my own thing. That's your problem.
Okay.
It's not letting their opinions influence you rather than choosing to overtly act against them. It's less confrontational. Now, independent...
Seems healthier.
Yeah, this independent reactance buffers couples against negative impact of social disapproval. It helps the marriage.
Okay.
The defiant reactance does not.
Okay.
In a healthy marriage, reactive responses to network opinions were not about doing the opposite of what one's parents or friends were advocating, but instead a matter of continuing to love one's spouse regardless of social opinion. So just acting independently of that social disapproval, not letting it influence you, that's better for your marriage than directly confronting people's, like, the things they're trying to put on you.
But that's more like keeping it real. Like defiant, it seems like we're going to do this just to show you.
Yeah.
Whereas independent, like we do this just because we do this and we love each other and we're just going to keep on being who we are.
I think it's more differentiated. This is our choice. We're rolling with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys can dislike it if you want, but that's your problem, not mine.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a very short cross the line to, you can do that with it, what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's just a fine line in there between independent reactance and
Independent
defiant.
and kind of thumbing your nose at someone. Yeah. Now, finally, disapproval. This impacts perception, right? So disapproval from family and especially from friends can have negative impacts on a relationship, as we've been discussing. But these issues are mostly caused by your perception of disapproval. So just kind of come back to this perception piece because it's so important, right? That perception leads to uncertainty about your relationship, and it may cause you to internalize some of the attitudes about your spouse that others show. So their beliefs you're bringing into your heart about your spouse.
Okay.
So
or what you think they believe.
Yep. Choosing to act independently of this disapproval rather than fighting against it, while being proactive about managing conflict, that eliminates most of the negative outcomes here. So taking the independent position, managing conflict, taking charge of these perceptions, of your perceptions, you can eliminate most of the negative outcome.
Okay.
A healthy, well-connected marriage can survive any amount of disapproval.
Huh.
A study from 2012 found that the link between support or disapproval for your marriage and negative outcomes is fully mediated by relationship well-being. So even
That's
if you're,
pretty neat.
even if your mother-in-law thinks your marriage is doomed, at the end of the day, her opinion does not have to count.
Right.
What matters is what you guys choose to do with your marriage and how much you're willing to invest and to build and to strengthen your marriage to create your own relationship well-being.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, babe, about...
Where's that?
I can't remember. Hang on. Oh, about how much power are you giving something in your marriage? Like it might not even be a marriage issue, but it's turning into it because you give it that space. And this is almost the same thing. Like, okay, someone has that opinion. How much control am I, or how much power am I going to give that in my marriage?
Or can I just give that disapproval back to them and let them
And it's their issue.
have it, and we'll have our marriage over here and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
Good. We had some more patrons come on board, babe, which is awesome. Ryan and Heidi and Karen, thank you so much to each of you for what you guys are doing to support Only You Forever, help us with the production of our podcast. We so appreciate this. And again, all of our patrons that are there month after month, you guys are making it happen. You're keeping it real. And we really appreciate you because we couldn't do this without you.
Yeah. Support us, but also support other marriages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can hear that coming through in some of like the iTunes review we read last time. Really cool. That's a marriage saved, right?
Yes.
So
yeah, that's true.
these are resources being put to good use, and we thank you for that. And we see ourselves as needing to be careful stewards of that.
Next week, Caleb.
We're talking about how much foreplay does your wife really need? Should be interesting.
Yeah, I'll look forward to that one. That is all for today's episode. You can get the full show notes at oyf.link/159. Find out how you can help marriages. Go to oyf.support. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
The Marriage Podcast for Smart People is totally funded by listeners who support Caleb and Valinda in their mission to save marriages. If you would like to be part of this worthy cause, open your web browser to oyf.support. A minimum investment of $10 per month will help restore hope to married couples. Plus, as a patron, you'll gain access to exclusive bonus content and valuable information to help you succeed in your own marriage. Go to the website oyf.support now for more information. Thanks for listening to the Marriage Podcast for Smart People from Only You Forever.